Hello, this is Tim Huggins, and just kind of want to give a quick update. Basically, the whole philosophy, whatever the hell I was trying to do, obviously wasn't working. It's just a pain in the ass to make those kind of videos, like a major pain in the ass. So basically, I'm going all new, all vlog, all about my life, all about my interests, and trying to do it relatively artsy, or trying to. I don't fucking know how to do it. But basically my tone is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit less educational. Not saying like I'm going to be spouting out a bunch of bullshit, because I don't want to be doing that. But basically I'm going to be focusing on just about my life. You know, it's kind of like half the time I'm reading from a script and I'm panicking. I don't really know how to do that comfortably, to be honest with you. So basically what I'm gonna do, and starting with this video, is we are gonna just talk about my life, things that I'm interested in. And if you want all that educational stuff, I'll drop it in the academy. That's where you need to get all that kind of stuff, because that's where we'll be discussing educational things. And if you want something to laugh at, you'll get that from Skeptic Alert. But for me, this is going to be good stuff. This is going to be about my life and everything Tim Huggins and Politely Atheist. So let's start it off. Before we go, I want to talk about why I left Mormonism. Well, before we get to the destination, I kind of wanted to discuss Mormonism in brief, because when I say Mormonism, I don't mean like all the Mormon sects. I mean just the main church, the Church of Jesus Christ, based in Salt Lake. And I grew up in the church. I was a very devout member, and doing the Mormonism video on was you know, almost didn't require any kind of sources. I didn't even post sources, because most of the doctrine and the ideas are things that I knew by heart. But you know, I grew up in the church. My family was my immediate family, anyways, was very devout members, and we had come from all over the West, but mostly from Utah and other places. And where we lived, which was in a suburb of Spokane, Washington, Mormonism wasn't very popular. In fact, you could argue that religion itself wasn't very popular around that area. You could look in the statistics, and most people are non-denominational Christian, or they're not very many Catholics, but you know, it was mostly, you know, Mormons were kind of few and far between. If you went to the South, it'd probably be a different story. You know, there's a lot of Mormons living in South Idaho. But basically, so I was kind of, I don't want to say rebel. Yeah, maybe rebel Christian, but I mean, we were just kind of fringe where we lived. We were not mainly accepted, and there was a lot of pastors and people in other churches that were anti-Mormon, or they always said anti-Mormon shit around us. And I'll explain that later. But basically, if you know, where I came up, it kind of had a Christians in Rome kind of feel to it. You know, like we're persecuted. You know, people didn't really understand our beliefs. Like we were fringe. We were not wholly accepted, and so the friends that we had, we were very close friends. A lot of the friends that I grew up in the church with, they're very close friends, and a few of them still are close friends. And so it was a real close-knit, small community where I came from. Other members will have way different experiences, and so especially ex-members, when they leave the church, it's a much more traumatic. It's a much more traumatic experience, because if you leave the church in Utah and everybody's Mormon, it is just havoc. So basically, I grew up in the church. I was baptized at 8. When I was 12 years old, I received the Aaronic priesthood, which I highly recommend you guys watch my Mormonism video, or any video on Mormonism, so you can understand what I'm talking about. So at 12 years old, I was a good deacon, which is kind of like the smallest tier of the priesthood. And I was a very devout member up until, I would say, about 18 years old. And when I was 18, I started reading anti-Mormon literature, and there's a few thoughts that came into my head from that. And I'll kind of save the rest for later, once we get to our final destination. But basically, it was a pretty great life being a Mormon. They taught us to just be happy, and don't sin, and don't lie, don't do any bad things, and then you could live live in the celestial kingdom with your family, after you get married in the temple and all those fun things. So basically, that will be key to one of the main reasons I left the church later on. But I mean, life as a Mormon is pretty great. I mean, everybody's very nice. Somebody would give the shirt off their back to make you happy. The missionaries will come to your house, and they'll tell you about the stories. You get a chance to shoot the shit with people, and being in such a tight-knit community, we all knew each other. We all, so there was kind of the fun gossip type of stuff, where you could talk shit about so-and-so for giving a really bad fasting testimony, or you can do the more spiritual things, go over to somebody's house, give somebody a blessing, or or you could also go play some church basketball, which is rough as shit. It's almost like prison rules, and everybody's elbowing each other, and then off the court, they're best friends with each other. And so it's like growing up as a Mormon, it's just great. I mean, you don't want to do drugs or alcohol or do anything like that, because it's like, why in the hell would I want that? I'm happy as shit right now, and it just works when you just don't care about where your happiness is coming from, in some ways. And I would say to less inquisitive minds, it would, you could stay like that forever. You could be fairly intelligent, and as long as you never question church doctrine, I mean, you could have a pretty good life. A lot of these people got a lot of money. They have a lot of hookups, so a few connections with prominent church businessmen. You can get a decent job. You can start your own business with a lot of help from the locals, and you can do all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's almost a community in and of itself. You don't need anybody else. You're fine by yourself in a lot of ways. So I have, even if I'm the only member of my family to leave the church, I totally understand why they haven't, even if they question the doctrine, is because it is like a family. It is like such a nice family. And I know I sound really culty, but it's just, you always feel like you have somebody looking out after you. You have this clear patriarchy of control over your life, that if you fuck up, then you'll have somebody help you clean up your mess. I mean, basically, it was a friendly, happy environment, and with a bunch of people that loved you and would do anything for you, it seemed to me. And I'll kind of go back to what I was referring to when I was 18 and talking with people who everyone considered anti-Mormon. I'll get into that. So here we are, out in Green Lake in Seattle. Beautiful fucking place, I swear to God. Everybody's walking around, having a good time. I figure I might as well finish the story there. So here I was, a pretty good member, and I was approaching the age of 19, which in Mormonism is around the time that if you're going to serve a mission, that's when you're going to do it. And it's kind of a hard time. I mean, you just graduate from high school, and you know, you're all excited. You don't know what you're gonna do with your life. You know, you're thinking about a career. Mormons are thinking about, where am I gonna go? So around that time, I started filling out all my paperwork, but in my private time, I was also researching some of these ideas. You know, might be good information to know if I'm on my mission. I know a little bit about anti-Mormon doctrine, and I read about it, and I just kind of took it as lies, pretty much, for the most part. But there was a few things that really kind of confused me. Is you know, in Mormonism, you know, God, and they believe in polytheism, but when I would read the Bible, and especially other kinds of Bibles, when they talk about God, they talk about God as being monotheistic. There is no other God, and if you worship another kind of God, it's blasphemy, it's bad. That kind of disturbed me, but it was kind of in the back of my brain. So the next thing that started to happen, you know, I just kept getting older, and you know, just started getting close to 19 and getting ready to serve on my mission. I was very excited. I got my papers to go to Brazil, somewhere in central Brazil. I was very excited. Started learning about Portuguese, started researching their Brazilian culture. Man, those picture books couldn't even keep out some of the beautiful women out there, I swear to God. And so basically, I was getting ready. I was on my way to Salt Lake City MTC, and I was going to learn Portuguese for a few months, and then I was going to fly out to Brazil, you know? And I was going to convert people and everything. But before I had to do that, you had to go to the temple, which was very exciting for me, because I was just like, yeah, you know, temple's beautiful. And before I went to the temple, there was a few temple classes that taught us a little bit about everything. And and when I actually went to the temple, it was a lot different. So how was it different? Well, when we went into the temple as kids, we would do things called baptism for the dead, which is kind of a fucked up thing in its own right, but you know, that's a lot less fucked up than what I saw. The first thing that we did was we had to put on our temple clothes. I didn't even look inside the bag. I was just kind of like, ah, well, I mean, it's probably just really nice clothes or white clothes or something. And the first thing that I take out of the temple clothes bag is this paper tunic. And a paper tunic, and an older temple worker would come in and he put oil on my legs and arms, and quote unquote blessed me. We're getting ready to go into the temple. Mormons kind of consider the temple like the Jews considered their temple, I guess, back in the day. So they thought it was, you needed to be blessed and anointed before you could go in, because you were going to be among God. And so after that, which was kind of weird, but I was okay. I put on the rest of my clothes, and inside the clothes was this little small bag that had some weird attachments, kind of like a leaf attachment and other kind of an attachment. I didn't think anything of it. But when I walked into the room, which was the telestial room, I saw my mom and my grandmother in veils, like Muslims. And that one caught me off. Yeah, it was a little disconcerting. It was a little creepy. I mean, here I was, a Christian, and I used to mock those ideas. Oh, women don't need to cover up. Women don't need to do this. But apparently, I was a hypocrite right off the. I was viewing my family members in the new light. We didn't have just a regular Christian religion. We were quite a bit different. Throughout the ceremonies, the temple ceremonies, we started to watch a video that explained the beginning of the earth, which involved, the Garden of Eden, but Mormonified. It was the discussed how Adam and Eve was a planned occurrence, and it's a planned occurrence in almost every planet, and this is not, we are not unique. This is something that's happened in other worlds, and this is not anything that I ever learned about, ever. So watching this video, I was just like, what the hell? There was always little statements in anti-Mormon publications about how God was a space alien and he lived on a planet near the star Kolob. And here it was revealed to me that no, they were actually telling the truth. After the temple ceremonies, and after my family was just so excited, the only thing going through my head was, man, this is bad. I'm living a lie. This is odd. This is strange. And it's like, how can I believe? How can I believe this stuff? And I didn't. I automatically didn't. I was like, there's no way. There's no way any of that is true. So, and we're talking, I'm 2 months from going to the MTC to be a missionary. 2 months, and I'm having these major issues. But coming to the temple, I had to reconsider those beliefs. So basically, I was 2 months in, and I realized I am not a Mormon. I can't be a Mormon. I don't believe in anything that's going on in the temple, and I need to go to the temple to be saved, or to go to the highest kingdom. And I mean, eventually, all that led me down the rabbit hole of, you know, atheism. But at that time, I was like, I am not Mormon. I am not Mormon. I can't believe in this stuff. This is ridiculous. It just can't be this way. It just can't be.